everyone. I'm Zoe. I'm VP and partner at Fala Network. We are one of the sponsors and hosts here at Infra Gardens, our 4th edition. Very cool brand, I would say, that we have developed over the last, I don't know, half a year on different Ethereum conferences. And I would like to discuss with my amazing panelists today the landscape in Web3 on DePin and AI. And we have specialists from both sides, of course, DePin, infrastructure, and AI. Christian, co-founder of Mind Network. You guys also had a great conference and event yesterday where our CTO was speaking. We have Hitesh, also co-founder of, right? Is it co-founder? Yeah, of Cups AI. And Alessandro from Acuras, very heavy on the compute and infrastructure side. To kick it off, maybe you can explain a little bit where do you guys fit in the infrastructure, overall infrastructure for when we talk about AI and DePin?
Sure. So I'll kick it off. So My Network is started out as an FHE project. We've shipped several products that are aiming to create better data security as well as consensus security using fully homomorphic encryption, which is the holy grail of cryptography. It's the ability to run computation on encrypted data without decrypting the data. So specifically where we found our sweet spot in AI was with validation. So most decentralized AI networks, in order to be decentralized, have to come to consensus over how well certain functions are being performed, namely how miners are developing models and how useful are the models. So most AI subnets in BitTensor or AI networks have a ranking criteria for the models. And so the problem that we've found, and I won't go too deep into it now because we can talk about it, but the problem that we found is that the operators in these networks are often copying a lead validator. So the validator with the most amount of tokens staked, that's usually a signal that they also have a lot of capital and a lot of compute power, so they're most likely to get the answer right. But they're broadcasting the results publicly, which means that you can see who's staking the most amount of tokens, and you can copy them, and therefore you can earn more rewards. So this was a problem in BitTensor. We found out it was a problem in many AI networks. And so that's kind of our core offering, is creating a shared private state with FHE for AI validation.
Amazing.
So we guys are building infrastructure for people who build, monetize, and trade AI agents. So we are crowdsourcing the resource side, like the LLM APIs and the compute side of it. The fun part is I've been in crypto like 7-8 years now. Like what I've observed is most of people in crypto, like they come, or Web3, they come for capital formation. And so we are adding an angle of capital formation where users can come and speculate on AI agents. So we are fractionalizing AI agents. People can come own a fraction of the agent and also speculate on top. So it's like pump.fun, but for AI agents. So that's that side. And we are also building a matching engine using Symbiotic. So we are matching the crowdsourced LLM APIs and the crowdsourced compute that we have to people who want to run the AI agents. So, yeah.
Hi. Also, hello from my side. We're actually more focused on bringing back decentralization to the Web3 space, because what we have seen is that a lot of the ethos behind Web3 is actually being lost as we have more and more technologies that are computational intensive pushing these projects to host on AWS, Google Cloud, and so on and so forth. And what we ended up doing is basically flipping the script on its head by not utilizing servers, but mobile devices as the actual compute engines. And that's Acuras in a nutshell. And I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much. And yeah.
Great. So since we are also combining AI with DePin, which is the decentralized physical infrastructure, when we talk about agents and AI use cases, we see a lot of things that have happened on-chain or off-chain. I would like to hear from you guys, what from your use cases do you put on-chain and what is running off-chain and why?
It's a good question. I just came from a talk where we were discussing decentralization and first centralization for different parts of the AI, because all AI is not the same thing. There are multiple processes. So we're talking about obviously data aggregation, data refinement, model training, model refinement, and then inference. And so in the early stages, it maybe doesn't make sense to, for example, use FHE for every single one of those. FHE for data aggregation is too slow right now. And in many cases, ZK is fine. You can do computation off-chain, put the proof on-chain, and that still works in many situations. So we're looking for where is data the most sensitive, where is it the most vulnerable, and can we apply FHE there without slowing down any of the processes? So one really kind of sexy use case would be that if the data inputs and outputs for the model could be protected with FHE, so encrypted and never decrypted, obviously that would be wonderful. Just from a data security standpoint, protecting user data, we're not going to stop. Oops, it just got louder. There are so many services that are aggregating the data. Masa is another really great one, and you got data availability optimized for AI through zero gravity and the like. So they're offering great services. Data scraping to produce the models is on its own trajectory, and that's fantastic. But if you can apply on-chain computation to that data in an encrypted state, I think that is a really needed use case.
And maybe a follow-up question. Why is your bet on FHE so high? Because we have also, your bet on FHE, right, for security. We have also ZK, of course, being around maybe a bit longer, trusted execution environments where we offload a lot off-chain, maybe which is faster. Why is FHE the best solution in your opinion? Well,
it's a good question. I mean, look, Google, Intel, Microsoft, they all have FHE departments. And the reason they have FHE departments is because it's probably inevitability. So in 1993, the internet wasn't encrypted at all. Why would you encrypt it? Everything, it was for academia, it was for government. Of course, now, if you do anything that's not encrypted on the web, you get your browser hates that. Your computer doesn't like that. We don't like that. So the trajectory is more encryption. Probably around, we think 2030 or shortly thereafter, we'll have a fully end-to-end encrypted web. We just need hardware acceleration. That is the trend. So more protection and obviously more user, there's a civil rights issue here. It's like how much of our data are we willing to keep giving up when we see all of the negative consequences it has. So FHE is the holy grail. It works complementary with ZK. You use ZK for input-output often, and MPC is also something that we use for key management, and Fela is also doing some really exciting research there as well. So they're complementary in most scenarios.
Look out for the next partnership announcement for Fala and Might Network to
SGX.
leverage trusted execution environment. Yeah, Hitesh, please. The question was, what do we need to put off-chain or on-chain and off-chain?
So the way we are building, we don't want to have everything on-chain to start with. We want to progressively decentralize and distribute the protocol, because what happens is we don't want user adoption, any friction to be there earlier. So initially what we're doing is the ownership of the AI agents, that is on-chain, like fractionalization and speculation, all of that is on-chain. The CPU compute, the data, and the APIs that people are putting as endpoints, all of that is run off-chain. But the coordination layer is completely on-chain. So the crypto economic side of things, the incentives, disincentives, and coordination layer, all of that is on-chain. So that way we don't lose anything in terms of the latency, the speed, and how easy it is for people to run these agents. But at the same time, there's the incentives, and all of that is on-chain to start with.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
yeah, sure. So for us, actually, it's a little bit different. The only thing that is happening on-chain, we're utilizing our blockchain as a matchmaker between compute providers and compute users, so developers. And that's it, really. It's a general compute thing. The actual computation happens all entirely off-chain inside these secure enclaves of your mobile device.
And Alessandro, are you working on specific AI use cases already? And maybe is there something that we can expect being run on the phone very soon?
So we actually have a couple of research projects going on with the University of Zurich and the University of Lugano. One of the biggest limitations with mobile devices is that vertical compute does not scale as with servers, right? Because you find servers with, 200 gigabytes of RAM and so on and so forth. You don't find mobile devices with that amount of RAM. However, what we've seen over and over again is that whatever needs to be scaling is pushed towards a horizontal scaling. And this is where Accuracy is really, really good at, because mobile devices have on average 8 gigabytes of RAM, 8 cores, but there's mobile devices that can grow up to 32 gigabytes of RAM, so those are actually quite big devices. And the thing is, more and more things are pushed towards a distributed way of dealing with computational loads. Now, long story short, up to this moment, performing things like inference, performing things like machine learning was not really possible with mobile devices because it required a lot of vertical compute. However, there is a very good, you were able to load just a very small large language model, and now that has been broken because there is a project called Distributed Llama that actually is allowing you to split up the model into multiple smaller pieces, and you are then able to say, okay, one device is not capable of actually performing the inference. However, if you're then scaling to 1,000 devices, you're able to load things that are not even able to be loaded on a single vertical compute. That being said, inference is a use case that already works on Actress that way. However, today, the training and fine-tuning of a large language model is not really possible because we have this limitation of vertical compute.
But hopefully soon, and maybe there are also new use cases that we can discuss afterwards. Let's talk a bit more about like cost and performance, right? That's always what we want to improve for the developers. We want it faster and hopefully cheaper. How do you, with your product, services or offerings, both Hitesh and Christian, offer to developers, or how can you improve the cost and the performance for building AI agents, or provide the infrastructure for it?
Yeah, from an infrastructure standpoint, that's where we play. FHE is slow, admittedly. It's not fast yet. So if you're an L1 or L2 using an FHE VM, you're getting 4 to 8 TPS. It's not going to cut it. But the hardware side is scaling, maybe 1,000x over the next year or so. Cornami and Optalysis, chip companies that you probably never heard of, but they're working on that. So the key for, at least for using FHE, is finding places in tech stacks where you already have a window of time that a process is being achieved. So when we're talking about ranking AI models, usually the subnet or the network is already allotted 10, maybe 20 minutes for all of the validators to come to consensus about that model and whether it's doing what it's supposed to do. So that's plenty of time to run FHE computation. It's a sweet spot, so that's why we apply it there.
So what we are doing is we are crowdsourcing a lot of resources. Like what happens when you crowdsource resources and create a network where people are running nodes, people are providing compute, people are providing LLM APIs and everything, like that you need to reach a critical mass so that the system becomes efficient. Like where, let's say, if an AI agent is using some resources and then for a period of time, no one's using that AI agent, like the same resource can be allocated to some other AI agent. The difficult part is like for you to bootstrap the network to get to that point, right? So we have like very deep crypto economic incentives that we are working on to bootstrap the network to a point where it becomes very efficient for like multiple builders and multiple developers to start using this shared resource network that there is. So our approach is like to initially, like as a foundation as well, like we'll be helping running some of the infrastructure and we'll be providing this for free for the developers early on, because like infrastructure for running AI agents could be quite expensive to start with, but like hit that critical mass with like all the other people who are contributing resources onto our network. So just to get to that point where it becomes much more capital efficient, and like on the speed side, we are not running any decentralized LLMs, we are not running any decentralized compute, we are essentially crowdsourcing CPU compute. It might be like $5 DigitalOcean droplets as well, right? Like, so the infrastructure that a lot of developers around the world are already used to, like you could be building on LangChain, you could be using some other models, like, so we are aggregating all of the CPU compute that people are already familiar with. So, yeah.
Maybe it doesn't apply specifically, but maybe on the cost side, how would you comment on this, Alessandro?
So one thing about mobile devices is that they're incredibly versatile. Each and every mobile device comes pre-shipped with a TPU, a GPU, and a CPU, all of which that are super power efficient, right? Because a mobile device never had the privilege of being connected 24/7 to a power supply. That being said, and another very cool thing, and this is also why we see a huge uptake in MacBooks being utilized for machine learning things, is that you have unified memory. This means that your whole operating system, your GPU, your CPU, and your TPU are capable of utilizing the RAM of that device. It's not like your GPU has a separate RAM. And the cool thing about this unified memory thing is that all of them are highly efficiently using exactly the same RAM. Now, that being said, a mobile device will never be more efficient than a purpose-built chip similar to an FPGA or ASIC for something like machine learning and inference. That means that it is not the end game. However, on the way there, it's definitely a cool alternative and something that you can get started and something that offers you a way better efficiency compared to, let's say, general compute servers. Yeah.
Let's touch a bit on, I would say that's the latest, the hottest narrative, DAGI, right? Decentralized Artificial General Intelligence, a new evolution of AI where we really focus on decentralizing things, but really making the AI very, very smart, like the cognitive decision making. Christian, from your side, because you have a big, big partner network, what would you like to see in the overall AI tech stack to maybe move more towards the decentralized AI or DAGI? I know it's maybe not really laid out yet, but what are you pushing forward with all of your partners to get to a more DAGI use case ecosystem?
So Ilya was in charge of the super alignment team at ChatGPT and stepped down because ChatGPT decided they no longer needed super alignment. So super alignment was the team basically making sure that ChatGPT's or their AGI initiative didn't run amok, because how do you control something that's smarter than everything in the world? So I think that was alarming. It was alarming to me, alarming to many. So I think we have the same problem in decentralized AGI. We need alignment, and so we need protocols or systems to keep decentralized AGI. And I think there's an inherent advantage. There's more checks and balances, certainly, right, in a decentralized architecture, because you have to achieve consensus in multiple areas of developing the AI, like I said before, aggregation and refinement and model training, inference. So we already have an advantage there. I'd like to see, I think, more teams being intentional around alignment for DAGI.
And Alessandro, also from your side, how important is to host or the DePin aspect on that side, right? We talk about, are we able to move everything on the phone? How can we push forward the AGI with the specific DePin infrastructure?
So, up to this moment, I think it was not really like all governments, all big tech, everyone was collecting all sorts of data of each and every individual. And up to this moment, it was not necessarily a big issue, right? Because we had machine learning models that were all prone to something called overfitting. So at some point, the model would actually get less accurate the more data you were pouring in. Now, with large language models, we have not reached that point yet, or maybe that point does not even exist. And that is really concerning, because this means that up to this moment, you could just take the stance and say, okay, yeah, they're collecting all my data, but I'm not that interesting, so I will just be noise in that data. But you're now no longer noise, and now people are actually able to utilize your data and make something useful out of it and structure it. And that's really, really scary. And that's why I also believe that a decentralized movement is super important in that space, because it's the only way how humans can get back the control. And you definitely don't want politicians to have that control.
Amen.
So that's, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Christian here. I think so. Like when we talk about the AGI, like we think like this AI model has to be so smart, has to solve all problems, has to be superior than humans. But I think so. It's more about like being more aligned with people and being more conscious. Like for example, like I live in Dubai. Like when I'm in Dubai, I'm very cognizant of the culture there. I'm very cognizant of the people there. I'm very cognizant when I speak with different people about different things, because like everything, like even if you look at like the goal of an AI model is to tell like what is the truth probabilistically.
That sounded all good? Okay.
Yeah. So the
Too much wine already.
So the goal of an AI model is to tell truth probabilistically, but truth could be very subjective and relative to the person, right? Like if there's a war between two countries, the story of that war is different in both the countries because they have their own sides, right? So I think so for AI to get to a point where it's that aligned with people, what you need is a lot of data, a lot of verifiable data on like from people around the world. I think so like when I talk with ChatGPT, I talk with Gemini, like the model can really understand who am I as a person, like when I talk like through conversations, but like you need it to be interoperable where like this sort of data can be accessed by models all around the world to become much more conscious to the person you're talking to. So the next time like anyone, if you and I like ask the same question to a model, like it should give different responses because the model just understands us better. I think so that's where we need to get to accelerate DG. Yeah.
I'm going to build on that too, because just to keep going, I really, I agree with that a lot. And you bring up a good point about alignment within geographic locations and cultural alignment. It looks like from what I'm seeing by the G7 nations have all kind of decided that by the end of the year, they're going to figure out some sort of AI regulatory framework to control the major AI companies, either based in their geography or not. But it looks like that's going to happen by the end of the year, and we'll start to see a concerted effort among the Western nations particularly. But that's, that's geographic, and if anybody here reads Balaji and understands the network state, you also have cultural differences across the big platforms, the social media platforms, where there also could be better alignment with AI. So it's really interesting to me to think about where we draw the lines of what kind of alignment we have and what's most important to people.
And we could bring in the ethics here, right?
Yes.
How do we consider the ethics when we talk about data ownership in big AI? What is, do you have a strong viewpoint on this? Alessandro?
Yeah, I mean, the question is what is data ownership in general, right? Because the problem is the minute you post or upload a picture or something today, as it lands on a centralized cloud, you're losing effectively the data ownership. And you see that over and over again, right? A couple of weeks ago, actually, there was Apple that had a glitch, and all of a sudden all the images that you had deleted before just popped up again. And this means that even if you think that your personal data has been erased from the internet, they're still there, still being used for all sorts of shit that you have absolutely no control over it. And yeah, I mean, to some extent maybe people can say, okay, I don't care, right? The convenience is just outweighing the potential risks behind that, but I think we will get bitten in the ass. Sorry for, but I think eventually this will become a problem, and we've seen over and over again. And this is maybe even taking a little bit a wider swing, but we've seen over and over again that in times of people not being really happy, in times of depressions and crisis and everything starts to shift to one extreme or another. And the problem is that if that extreme political party or something then has the tools to misuse this against you, they fucking will. And that will be a fucking problem for everyone, even though that, yeah, that's... So I think we should care about it today before it's actually too late.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why we are also discussing like the security of DePin, right, within AI. Like, why do we don't want to host all of our agents on a Google Cloud, for example, which also, yeah, would be difficult. Shoot out, maybe because you guys have a lot of things on your roadmap, and the last time, the first AI side events happened in Denver, which was like 4 months ago. Now we have 200 side events here in Brussels, and I think in 3 months we have a lot of more progress in the AI and DePin space. What are you guys working on? What would you like to share with the audience that's super exciting, maybe from your project specifically, also or with the intersection or a partnership that's coming up?
Yeah,
go ahead,
I'll
Christian. You
so
can
I'll go first. So 2 things. One thing I'm really excited about, and then I'll talk about my network's updates. But look, if you look at all of the narratives in all the sectors in crypto, I think the one that is so easy, and it's the best elevator pitch, and it's probably the best way to onboard normies in Web2 and retail people is DePin, because it's very simply use the devices you're already using, share the data you're already sharing, just get paid for it. and it's just so simple to get. I think you look at StepIn from the last bull cycle and Demo and these projects that really made great inroads into more normal, non-super tech crowds. I still think that's true in this bull cycle. I think DePin's got this great narrative. And then if you combine the fact that if you are a project, that has the your sharing compute from your laptop, if you haven't updated, if you've got an M2 chip in your Apple computer and you're not using it all the time because all you ever do is email and Slack and Lark and you've got all this unused compute, why not share that to a network? And there's other projects like Koi that are doing really cool things. I mean, I think that could really be like one of the standout killer use cases, this AI DePin or compute/DePin, these projects. So I'm really, really excited to see those develop. I think one of those is going to take off. And then talking specifically to my network, obviously we're helping the AI space. We're working with DePin projects as well. We're helping IONET and Aether source their compute. So there's consensus around how do you get the compute when you put a query in to get a cluster on IONET. There needs to be a consensus around where do you get that from. And so we're helping encrypt that consensus. We're also helping with LLM aggregators like Supersite. So we're excited about that. And we just launched our mainnet today. So we're on our way.
Yeah. Congrats. And you did some name dropping here, but are there any other 2 projects or 1 project?
Sorry, Phala. Phala is amazing.
Yeah, no. On your watch list, besides the ones that you mentioned? Anything you came across these days? I mean, you mentioned several already.
Well, we are super bullish with Phala. Obviously, it's why we're here. And then I'd say Zero Gravity, because their data availability layer is orders of magnitude faster than Ethereum, Avail, everybody, Eigen. So I think you two are probably what we're most excited about.
Cool. Yeah, you can also add what you have on your watch list.
Yeah, sure. I'm very excited about this intersection. Like I've again looking at how the crypto industry has evolved over the last 8 to 10 years. Like we talk about adoption, we talk about like how many users are coming to this industry, and like when I go on chain, and it's crazy for me to see that there are protocols with there's only 10 protocols with more than 1 million on chain holders, right? Like it's wild, and like if you have probably 100K token holders on Ethereum, you're top 50. Like you're one of the most distributed projects out there, right? So, and one of the major reasons for that is a lot of verticals that crypto has gone after, like for example, like financial verticals, DeFi verticals, like a lot of people don't understand what it is, and it's very difficult to onboard people. Like that's why like gaming was a big segment where like everyone was very excited about, but like a lot of builders in the gaming ecosystem in crypto, like they were not able to deliver the games like your traditional like League of Legends and Dota and Call of Duty, right? Like so we didn't get that adoption, but I think so now with AI we are at a point in time where like companies are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in a year like just to onboard users to what AI is, like all the products that were not using AI till now, like they are releasing all these features, right? Like it's crazy that my like 80-year-old grandmother in India also knows what AI is, right? She never knew what DeFi is, right? So that's a very big opportunity. And as Christian rightly said, like when people are doing something that they're already doing, but then you combine incentives to them, like with DePin, like similarly, I think so with the AI in the same vertical, like that blockchains have been the best infrastructures for capital formation, period, right? And like the most accessible infrastructures. I think so this combination of like this technology with what is going on in the world in general, it's going to be crazy. Like we'll really start hitting those billion users now on the infrastructures that we guys are building. In terms of like what our roadmap looks like, we have been very like stealth about a lot of things that we have been building so far. Like we'll be announcing a lot of it soon. So it's just a shout out, like, so you guys should just follow 0x Capex on Twitter, and we'll give you updates there very soon. Yeah.
Great. Alessandro, from your perspective.
Yeah, so I think many of the, like I can only echo what my co-panelists say here, and I think, I see the exact same. But let me maybe get a little bit more into the actual DePin topic, because I do believe that DePin and Web3 are inherently related, and also DePin now has, for the first time, again, it's bringing back that idea that you're able to really open crowdsource a lot of compute, a lot of services. And so much so that you're even able to challenge entire huge established systems. Because if we now take a look at Bitcoin, for instance, how far it has come just from a kind of idea to today start being topic on like political topic on the largest and most powerful country in the world. That's also arguable, but fine. I think the same power is actually also behind DePin, and I'm super excited about that. And yeah, on the Acro side, we're pushing as much as we can with making DePin as accessible as we can. And if you happen to have a spare phone, please also start onboarding that phone. Yeah.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Because you touched on it. What are your thoughts on federated learning?
I think federated learning is. So we have a research project on federated learning with the University of Lugano. Now, one of the issues that we personally were facing was the overhead over communication over the single compute units. However, I think that as more and more that starts maturing, that problem will no longer be necessarily the case. But you will still have the issue that it's not as accurate as training everything just centrally. So I'm super bullish on federated learning. I'm super excited about it. But what is around today, sadly, is not yet on par with the centralized offering. Yeah.
So specifically for like mobile DePin, like it's not really a solution yet. Maybe in a year or two or three.
But I'm convinced that it will be. Like 100%, because everything that needed like unlimited scale needed to be ultimately distributed, right? If we take a look at Google indexing the internet and their search engine, heavily distributed task, right? With all their MapReduce kind of things. And I think the same thing will also happen to AI, and federated learning is a good first step into that direction. And I think, there is a huge need for it, so it will happen. Yeah.
It's cool.
Great. I think we went through all of the questions regarding DePin and AI. Are there any questions from the audience? No? Okay, everyone wants to get more
if you
drinks
ask a question,
and food.
Fela will give you a Bitcoin.
Really? Cool. No, all the speakers are around. The sun is out. Let's have some more drinks. Thank you so much. I think we can summarize it in that DePin is super, super important to push AI use cases forward. Oh, yeah, please.
I think so.
So, also for me, it definitely is. I think it's the core use case, or the lighthouse use case so far, because people basically just organize themselves around a big problem, kind of being able to challenge the financial system. And I think you have now DePins focusing on other big problems, challenging something in also distributed way. So yeah, definitely for me it is 100%, even though I know that it is controversial, because some people will hate me for saying that. Yeah.
I'll go a little deeper on this. I think so. Like when blockchain started, like Bitcoin network is a proof of work network, and then like for efficiency purposes, we started getting into proof of stake and delegated proof of stake, right? And now you have these big blockchains with just 20 validators, 50 validators, and 100 validators. What that did is like all these networks, like which were working on proof of work, and anyone could just come and contribute. Like that opportunity start going away from people to like just 50 or 100 validators, right? It's the same validator in every single infrastructure. What DePin is doing is it's bringing that opportunity back to people, right? So we are going back to that world of Bitcoin and like early nodes, like where like it's not the node's purpose to just maintain a ledger, right? There could be a lot of different purposes as well. So absolutely, like I'd say that like it's Bitcoin started the DePin journey, and like we are probably going back towards that now and bringing the opportunity to like large number of people around. Yeah.
Great question. Cool. Summarizing it again, like we need DePin to push AI use cases forward. And for further use cases, specifically in DAGI that we discussed as well, we hope to see much more collaboration in this space. I'm excited where we are at in the next 3 months, when we all see each other again at the next conference. Thank you so much for joining. Enjoy the drinks.
Thank you very much. Yeah.